Welcome to episode 99, the great ones episode of Valley Sports Talk. If you are confused as to why this is uploaded at Monday around 5 o'clock, we had a busy last week. First off, one of our co-hosts, not me, graduated, so congratulations to
Yeah,
Brandon for that.
appreciate it.
He was gone all week because he graduated on what you graduated last Wednesday.
I graduated Wednesday. Yep.
And then his girlfriend graduated Thursday from the same school. Me and Brandon did go to this or still do. You're gone into teachers college now, so you're still at school, but your undergrad's done. But we all went to this. We all go to the same school. Brandon's girlfriend's done; she's graduated, but he stayed for that. So then he didn't get back till late, and then Friday we were pretty busy. And then Saturday we were in a golf tournament, and the same weekend we were in a baseball tournament that we ended up winning. So very busy last couple week for us, which is why this episode is so late coming out. But with that being said, we are 5 days away from episode 100. Me and Brandon are recording this at 4 o'clock, so I'm uploading this right after. This evening we have another interview that we're doing. It'll be our third one. Possibly one more after that. We'll look to see. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. We've done two of the interviews so far, and both have went amazing. So I'm really excited to see how everybody likes episode 100. See how well it does. But yeah, game 5 is tomorrow night. Getting back to the sports talk of the segment or of the podcast. Um, the Oilers with a convincing, or maybe not convincing, but a massive game 4 win, but it could possibly be a little too late as it took them 4 games to sort of figure this out. Your thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, take a breath there. That was a
Yeah,
long
I went
intro.
on
You
for a
did
bit there.
pretty good there. That was impressive. I
Thank
was
you.
waiting for the pause, didn't happen. But yeah, like you said, it was a very busy, very, very busy weekend. But we're back. It We also kind of took a break to see if by that point the Stanley Cup would be over, but it's not yet, as Noah mentioned. Edmonton had a very big 8-1 win. Um, I mean, that was kind of, I don't want to say to be expected. I didn't expect an 8-1 win, but I expected Edmonton to come out on home ice fired up, not wanting to get swept, especially in the Stanley Cup Finals. And they did exactly that. They got to Bob early, which is something they haven't been able to do so far this series. They got to him early and often. Got him pulled actually for the first time in this Stanley Cup playoff run, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Believe
think we've
so.
seen Solars at all. Um, so yeah, it was an all around perfect game for Edmonton. A lot of their depth forwards scored. It wasn't even the big dogs. We're still waiting from like a Leon goal, a Hyman goal, and stuff like that. But a couple goals from was it Holloway, I believe. You got
Ole,
one.
Henrique had
Yeah,
one. Darnell Nurse put one in the
Mark
net.
had one.
Yanmark, yeah, a lot of depth guys.
A lot of depth guys, which if you're Edmonton, that's exactly what you're looking for. That's huge. And again, I mean, Skip looked fine. I guess he could have looked like anything, and they still probably would have won that game. But yeah, it was a huge win for Edmonton. Um, I don't know. I feel like they might have scored too many goals here. They might have that might really make Florida upset, and especially going back to home ice. I think they're going to take that loss very personal. I think they're going to come out really hot. Um, I think this one might be done in 5. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I remember I think before, I don't remember which episode, it might have been 97, whatever one we made predictions. I said I don't see the Oilers losing a clinching game at home. So I still
Hmm.
either this game is done in 5 or this is going to 7. I don't see the Oilers losing a clinching game at home, especially how loud the Rogers Center was. Um for Canada being back in the Stanley Cup Final, our Canadian team, the place was rocking, and it kind of sucks the way that the series has went so far if you are an Edmonton fan. But I agree. I think they sort of game 1 they deserved to probably win, except we had a Bob masterpiece. Um, but I think that it almost took them 4 games too late to be able to figure Bob out. Um, it's a best of 7 series, so you have to figure it out early. And once you go down 3-0, I think there's only been like 2 teams in all the whole history of the NHL that have came back in the playoffs down 3-0, let alone in the Stanley Cup final. Um, so yeah, I think this is going to be done in 5-2, but um, good to see Edmonton get one of the win and to see them sort of maybe make Florida fans not nervous, but a bit shaky to say the least.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of thought there for Florida fans. I feel like if Edmonton wants any chance of bringing it back home, uh, the first period of Game 5 is crucial. If they can, I don't even, they can't even tie the period. I feel like they have to win the first period. Um, get in maybe Florida's heads quickly, because we know this is an experienced team and Florida should be able to handle a loss like that. But if you can get on them early again in Game 5, that might start creeping into their heads a little bit, especially because they've been on the other end of it, not 3-0, but obviously they did come back 3-1 against Boston last year when nobody gave them a chance. So they know what it feels like to be on the other side.
Yeah, I don't
So
think
they,
they
they
want to
know
do that.
exactly what Edmonton's going through. They know it's possible. So if you can get on them early, I think doubts will creep into Florida's head a little bit.
Yeah, and I actually liked the way the Oilers played that game. They finally just started throwing everything on net. Like they weren't trying to get a perfect opportunity. They were just throwing anything on net. You saw kind of saw it to start in the end of the game three in the third period. You know, Broberg's goal went off Mikkola and in. You know, that's just a shot. That's not a shot to score. That's just getting it on net, and it was gonna miss the net actually, but it ended up hitting Mikkola. And then in game four, you know, the Oilers were just putting pucks towards the net, making Bobrovsky, you know, use his rebound control, and eventually they got onto him early. And I actually liked the move by Maurice by pulling Bob in this situation. There's no reason to leave him in. You know, you're up 3-0. There's no reason to lower his confidence or just to give him a rest. You know, you got 2 days off, so he had like 2.5 days off, and a half a game in between. So after what he's done the first three games, I like the move. It was a veteran move by Maurice to put Stolars in. But yeah, we'll see. Coming back to game five, I agree with you. I think the Oilers need to win this first period, especially on the away. I think Florida, I think that we can say the Rogers Center was a lot louder than the whatever the Florida. I think it's Emirates Arena or whatever, or Emirates something. Um, but I think that Florida coming home up 3-1, I think that the Edmonton needs to win the first period or else they don't have a chance.
No, you make a good point. Like, I mean, it helps when you're up multiple goals and the game's already decided. But it was just like a party in there. There was like it was crazy in there. I found it was for the Rogers Center. It was pretty quiet in Game 3.
Yeah,
Still
I
loud in
was
Florida probably, but
I was
go
listening
ahead.
to Spit and Chicklets today at work, and I think they were there for that game. So they said there was a lot of nervous energy. You know, you're down 2-0,
Mhm.
first finals game since for 19 years. So it was a lot of nervous energy, they said. But yeah, I would have liked, and I think the fact that they got down early sort of took the wind out of the sails for that crowd. But you know, game four was loud because they were up most of the game, right? And 8 goals scored. It's going to be a lot of cheering, a lot of loud, a lot of goal horn.
Yeah, definitely. Give me, I'm throwing you on the spot. I didn't even tell you about this. Give me your top three um playoff MVP
Ooh.
votes if you had to vote.
Well, I don't think I can't remember the last time we've ever seen a Conn Smythe go to someone that wasn't on the winning team. So
Mhm.
I'll throw three sort of throw three um what's the word I'm like throw three Florida and then maybe at one Edmonton.
No, you
I
get
think
three. You get three.
okay,
Pick them.
three. They're all gonna be Florida. And right now, number one, I think after game four, if they close out in four and it was a like an easy game, I think it should have went to Bobrovsky without a question. But now that he's sort of had that one game off. I think right now, if Florida wins, it will go to Barkov, with Bobrovsky being a close second, sorry. And I'm gonna throw a sort of a weird one. I think Evan Rodriguez is sort of that number three spot right now. You know, he's been all over the lineup, especially in this sort of Stanley Cup final. We have seen a bit. Tkachuk's been very quiet, surprisingly. I know he did set up Bennett in game three, but Hagee's been a little quiet. You know, their stars haven't really came to play, but I think Evan Rodriguez has sort of came to play and sort of taking that opportunity he's gotten playing on that first line with Barkov. He had 2 goals in game one and just been a force playing with Barkov. He assisted on Barkov's goal in game three, but I think that's a sneaky pick for a third option. I know he won't get it if they win. It's going to go to either Barkov or Bobrovsky, but I think he deserves his some recognition.
No, you make a good point. For someone who's in the bottom six, if you look at his career
He plays
in the
uh,
playoffs,
right now.
is he?
The
Where
Barkov.
was he playing in Pittsburgh?
He was bottom six, probably usually either third center or um he was used a lot. Like whenever Russ was hurt, he would jump up on the first line with Sid and Gensel. But whenever everyone's healthy, he was probably a 3C or 4C.
Yeah, I agree. And he was bottom six for
Buffalo.
Colorado. Wasn't he Colorado?
I believe he got traded there,
Yeah.
or he
I thought
signed
he
there for a year. I believe,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
he played a year in the playoffs there. But either way, for a bottom six guy most of his career, um, he's above a point, half a point a game in the playoffs. Like he always comes to play in the playoffs. He was
Yeah, he
decent.
played 69 games for Colorado last year.
Yeah, he was decent for Pittsburgh. He's been really good for Florida, so that's not a bad pick. Um, my winner right now is Barkov as well. Even if it did end in four, I think it would have gone to Bobrovsky, but I still would have picked Barkov. I don't think this year Bobrovsky had to be the best goalie in any of the series for them to win. I don't even know if he necessarily was. Like Shesterkin definitely had his number. It's not hard to be the better goalie against Skinner. Swayman and Bobrovsky was a good matchup, and then in the first round they had Vasilevsky, but that Tampa Bay team uh, hasn't looked the same as in past years. But Barkov has shut down. We talked about it in previous podcasts. He shut down some elite players in this play Stanley Cup playoff run, and we talked about it last episode that you won't be able to shut these guys down, but you can limit them. And we were wrong. Leon Draisaitl doesn't have a goal. Zach Hyman doesn't have a goal.
They don't have a
Uh,
power play goal yet until last game, right? Did they score one? Or ended up
exactly.
scoring one?
Yeah, I don't know. They must have been 8 goals. You'd think so.
I'd
But we
hope.
were talking about just trying to limit them. He hasn't limited them. He's stopped them full on. McDavid has still
100%.
been pretty good, but he only has 1 goal
I
himself.
think I think what has been so impressive is this penalty kill that Florida has had. They've
Yeah.
sort of they've sort of like the Spin Chicos guys use it. They call it the Cobra or the Anaconda chokehold. Where they sort of just collapse on these guys and just choke them out, which it's been pretty interesting to watch, especially on the power play. Like they've been letting McDavid do like his tornado where he sort of comes up, but they always have a stick. Like Aaron Ekblad has been amazing for his stick work this game. You know, he's not the flashiest player, but he's physical and his stick just always seems like it's in the right place, especially on the penalty kill. And that Stenlund guy, he plays fourth line, but he's out there on the power penalty kill every time, and he's always in the right spot. He always has a stick. So I just feel like the Florida they've seen something that or they watched enough film. They saw something on the film to how they can limit this power play, and up till now it's worked, and it's been the reason I think that Florida is up 3-1 right now.
Yeah, definitely. In every other series, you've seen McDavid, like you said, kind of circle the ice, and as soon as um, the one guy leaves, Draisaitl gives him a little bit of space. He gives it right over for the one timer, and we haven't seen many one timers from Leon on the power play in this series. They've done a really good job at keeping them to the outside, not letting scrums happen in the middle for Zach Hyman to tap one in or anything like that. And yeah, you make good points. And then my third option. Um,
Florida scored one power play goal that game.
Edmonton, you mean?
Sorry, Edmonton. Nugent Hopkins from
Which-
Draisaitl and McDavid.
Yeah.
It was
So
their s-
I think that's
it was their
Nuge's only
sixth goal
goal
though.
of the series as
Seven. It was
well.
their seventh goal. Nope, it was their sixth goal. I can't. It was the
Good
sixth.
job.
Their sixth goal was a power play goal.
Good job.
Thank
And
you.
so if I had 3 votes, my third vote, even in a loss, would go to McDavid. Um, you've seen all the star players on this Edmonton team be shut down except for him. I know he only has the 1 goal, but he's put up quite a bit of assists in this series. He had 3 in game 4. Um, he's still been able to look pretty good out there. And I mean, you look at Wayne Gretzky's records, and they're not meant to be broken. Most records are meant to be broken. Wayne Gretzky's records are not meant to be broken. He put up some crazy numbers. Everyone knows the stat where even if he didn't score a single goal in the NHL, he'd still be leading the NHL in all-time points. And Connor McDavid broke a record last game, having the most assists in a single postseason run, which I think is something to not be ignored. And I think when the votes come out, I think there will be a lot of third place votes for Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. I probably would have put McDavid there. Um, but I just went off the fact that I don't think a losing team will win it. So that's the reason why I put three Florida players. But if I were to put an Edmonton player in there, it would be McDavid. Someone who I wish had been a bit more or a bit more of a factor in this series is Zach Hyman. I feel like he's has
Hmm.
been almost next to invisible this postseason. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if you're seeing anything being a Leafs fan or just watching him grow, but I feel like he hasn't done much this series where I feel like he was a big factor on why the Oilers have got to this place.
Well, what I'm about to say might sound disrespectful, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. Zach Hyman's game is it's not pretty. It's sitting in front of the net and batting in rebounds. It's not like he doesn't generate a whole lot of his own chances. A lot of his chances come off his teammates sending it to the net, and he's really good at getting a stick on the puck
Hmm.
or deflecting it or winning those net front battles. But Florida hasn't given Edmonton that many chances. Bobrovsky's either not letting any rebounds out. Uh, Florida's defense is doing a really good job at keeping position between Hyman and the goaltender. It's normally a Florida defenseman in between them. Um, they're blocking a lot of shots, and not a lot of shots are getting through for Zach Hyman to even poke through. And like you said, a lot of Zach Hyman's um, work is on the power play, and nothing's getting to the net. So I think it's just, I don't think it's Zach Hyman personally. I think it's just how good Florida is defensively at limiting those chances for Zach Hyman to bat in.
So we saw Zach Hyman score 54 goals this year. Guess how
Mhm.
many goals were in like the crease half of the zone of those 54?
38.
47 of his
That's
54
ridiculous.
goals were
Yeah.
scored within the crease area of the net.
Yeah, and I would like to see. I wonder if they'll show a graphic or anything. I wonder how many chances Edmonton's had in that zone this series. I bet you it's not.
That would be a very interesting to see. I feel like I haven't seen other than that one McLeod goal or that one
Hmm.
McLeod attempt, not this goal because his goal was from pretty far out that just beat Bobrovsky, but the one in game three where Bobrovsky scored Rob, I haven't seen very many chances where an Edmonton player has been on the doorstep and just had a whack at it. They've like I said, Florida's been very good at sort of collapsing in on that house area as you
Hmm.
use the reference to um on Edmonton.
No, it's a really good point, and I think that's why you haven't seen a lot of the star players been effective like that. But I mean, they got a lucky, I guess, with their depth scoring because it hasn't happened very much. But obviously, the big guys are going to have to score if they want to push this to six or even seven. So we'll see how that goes.
Hmm.
But if we're just assuming that Florida is going to win the Stanley Cup, by the time our next episode is out, the Stanley Cup will have probably been won. And if not, we
Well,
are
our
doing a
next
bunch.
episode, our next episode won't even be like a really a sports episode. It'll literally just be
That's what I mean. Exactly.
well,
So that's why I kind
you
of
won't
want to
see
go
us
with
talk you
one.
won't see us recap the Stanley Cup or off season until next Friday.
No, so I think we should maybe look at expiring contracts right now and kind
I
of,
actually want to ask you a question real quick before we jump off the Stanley Cup.
yeah.
Can you tell me there's been one team to ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the Stanley Cup final? Do you know who that team is?
And I even know the year.
What year? And who is it?
Toronto 1942
That is correct. Toronto
against
came.
against Detroit.
Yep. Look at
Look at
you.
that.
The
Truly.
1942 Nick Metz, never heard of him. Goal with 7:15 left, capped a third period comeback for the Leafs, which would be the first and last successful rally back from a 3-0 deficit in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I mean, if you get that far in, when you get to the Stanley Cup Finals, it's like if you look at these two teams, for example, how many times do you think Florida lost four straight games in the regular
Not
season?
very often.
Maybe once, maybe once.
I'm actually
Like,
pull up your cap friendly, I'm gonna go through that and see.
yeah, I would be shocked if it happened once. And if it did, it was probably some random like December period where it's the middle of the season and people don't really care. But as we pull up cap friendly and we look at the Edmonton Oilers, especially on offense, um, they have six players currently on their forward lines in the Stanley Cup playoffs who are under contract. Everybody else is a free agent. And of those six players, three of them are due for an extension. So Edmonton really only has like four players locked up for the next 2 years. So there is going to be a lot of work here. Um, as
Oh,
Noah's.
okay. One sec before I put
Oh,
you.
did they lose four straight?
They lost from January 13th to January 19th. They lost 4 games in a row. They lost
Against
they lost 4-1 to New Jersey, 5-4 to Anaheim in overtime, 3-2 to Detroit in overtime, and 6-4 to Minnesota. They then
okay.
went on a 4-game winning streak right after that.
Yeah.
Other
So
than
they
that,
won.
oh, they did it twice.
Oh, okay. Maybe Edmonton can make a
They
run
lost 4-0 to Carolina from March 14th to the 23rd. They lost 4-0 to Carolina, 5-3 to Tampa, 3-0 to Nashville, and 4-3 to the Rangers in a shootout. Other than those two streaks, their biggest losing streak was two. And but
Yeah,
they also did win 8 in a row at one point.
yeah, and those are also I'm probably in those 4 game losing streaks. I bet you those are back to back in there where the boys are tired and you got Stolars and Nets and stuff like that. Even though Stolars was
Mhm.
really good, um, having a rested team with Bobrovsky and Nets, you're probably not losing four straight very often. So a tough task anyways. But back to Edmonton, a lot of free agents. They have one RFA on forward being Dylan Holloway. The rest are UFAs. I'll run through them quickly. A lot of names. You have Connor Brown, Sam Carrick, Warren Fogle, Sam Gagne, Adam Henrique, Matthias Janmark, and Corey Perry. And then up for extensions this year, if the team wants to, is Ryan McLeod and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, so out of the names you sort of named on forward, I think a lot of them won't be back. Connor Brown, no. Sam Carrick, no. Adam Henrique, no. Corey Perry, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires. A lot of these guys were sort of, especially Sam Carrick and Henrique, those are rental type players that you bring over. I could maybe see them bringing back Janmark. I know he's been a good fourth liner, and he has contributed a decent amount in the Stanley Cup Finals, and playoffs in general. I think you bring back Dylan Holloway. He was a first round pick. I think it's almost too late to give up on him, and I don't think he's really had a fair shot yet. Um, but if we're looking at extensions, I would not be surprised if the Oilers lose or most likely lose this year, if Drysdale attempted to test out free agency, or if the Oilers are sort of scared to pay him. Like he's going to be commanding especially with the salary cap going up, he's probably going to be commanding somewhere close to $14 million, with the salary cap getting more expensive every year. And he's about to turn 30. So he's going to want term, he's going to want money. So it almost doesn't scare me because I know how good of a player he is, but it kind of scares me both if you're Leon and if you're the Oilers, because if you're Leon, maybe you don't want to get tied up in Edmonton for 8 more years whenever this might be their best chance to win it in his whole career. And with the Oilers, you don't want to sort of like we've talked about it for years. The issue with the Oilers, they haven't had competition in goaltending, they haven't had depth. And if you're Leon and you're signing a $14 million contract, that's eliminating the ability to bring in a depth like players at like 4 mil, or like a guy like re-signing Henrique. Like I think if Leon gets 14 mil, I think a guy like Henrique, or just a guy like not Henrique himself, but a guy of that sort of depth, third line center, could be second line winger sort of stature sort of is thrown out the window.
No, it's a good point, especially when all the free agents I named basically are bottom six players, and like you think a lot of them are going to be gone, which would make sense because a lot of them are mid to late 30s of the players I just named. Um, so yeah, if he's making all that money, it's going to be hard to get a bottom six. So your situation that's been the problem will stay the same, and as well as Edmonton. If you're signing him to like what you said, 14 mil, you still got Darnell Nurse making nine
Nine
for the
and a
next
half,
year.
2.5,
Um,
9.25 or something like that. Crazy.
yeah, and moving on to the defense to make that point, you got Broberg, who has looked decent when he's come in, and is 22.
He was a
So
former ninth overall pick.
exactly, and those aren't cheap. And then Evan Bouchard is also due for an extension. Who's going
He
to
was
want
on
a
a
big
bridge
time?
deal, right?
Yeah, he makes 3.9 next year and then is a free
Yeah, he's
agent.
going to be
So
demanding a payday, especially how the amount of points he puts up.
I would be shocked if he doesn't make more than Darnell Nurse, that's for sure.
Oh, there's no doubt
So
about it.
exactly. So that's a lot of money tied up, and then you run into a problem if you're giving Nurse 9 mil, if you're giving Bouchard at least, we'll just play it safe. We'll say at least 9 mil, and
Yep,
then you got Leon and Connor McDavid. We'll just say for safe sake, both making more than 12 million bucks. That's hard to construct a bottom six. That's for sure.
for
Um,
sure.
but their defenseman, like I said, you got Broberg, who's a restricted free agent, and then you got Troy Stetcher and Vinny Desharnais,
Yeah,
and
I
then
didn't
do
even know Troy
mention,
Stetcher was on this team, to be honest with you.
yeah, he got hurt. He got hurt pretty.
Vinny Desharnais has been in and out of the lineup with Broberg. I think, same thing with Holloway. I think it's almost too late to give up on Broberg, and I don't think he'll command a whole lot of money based off the fact that he has been until the Stanley Cup Final. He didn't play in these playoffs. And he's a former ninth overall pick. You spent a ninth overall pick on him. At least if you can sort of get a bridge deal done or maybe a sign and trade, you can do something. But I think he's too early to give up on him. So a bridge deal like that, I don't think he commands anywhere near like over 2 mil. Like I think maybe 1.5, maybe something like that. Makes
Yeah,
sense
fair
to me.
enough. And then yeah, and to wrap up the Oilers, you got Stuart Skinner at 2.5 for the next 2 years. You got Jack Campbell at 5 for the next three, and you got Calvin Pickard, who's a UFA. So my question to you is, do you try Jack Campbell again? Do you re-sign Pickard, or do you not re-sign Pickard, put Jack Campbell to the AHL again and look for a backup?
So my thoughts for the Oilers. I don't I don't know. I'm always not going to be a fan of Stuart Skinner being your starter. I just don't fully think that he's a starting caliber goalie. I think he's sort of like an Ilya Samsonov, where he's like a 1B sort of guy. So I don't know if I can.
Did you mute yourself or am I lagging out? Oh God. I can't hear you, but I can see your lips moving. That's so weird. It just cut out. Why can't I hear you? I got nothing muted. You got nothing muted?
No, can you hear that?
Yep, now I can hear you.
Oh, maybe there's something going on with my mic. Maybe I didn't.
Oh,
Maybe nobody heard anything I said, but I just
no,
said
you
that the
might just
others.
need.
I said the others sort of. I don't think it, I did. Did you hear me when I said I don't think I can trust Skinner as a starter?
Yeah, yeah. My only thought process behind that, I mean, you could say what you were going to say, but with the cap situation we were talking about, it might be hard for him not to be
Yeah,
the starter.
I said that they sort of need like a Martin Jones type signing, like the Leafs did, like a 1C, where almost it's a veteran sort of goalie that won't command either a whole lot of minutes in the net, or either he can sit in the AHL. You can bounce between him and Jack Campbell as your backup. And that can sort of be your tandem, sort of like how the Leafs rolled out Wall, Samsonov, and Martin Jones this year. Because
Hmm.
like I said, with all the free agents and these extensions, I don't think you can. And I think as much as I don't like Stuart Skinner, I think the others do like him. I don't think that they can sort of go out and spend another 5 mil like they did on hoping what Jack Campbell was going to be.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of wraps up Edmonton. If we go to Florida real quick, um, they have Antoine Lundell, who's an RFA who looked really good, is only 22. Um, they're probably gonna have to tie a little bit of money up to that. Apart from that, they have Sam Reinhart who needs a contract, and then the rest is kind of bottom six forwards. You got Nick Cousins, Ryan Lomberg, Kyle Okposo, who might retire, probably won't be back, and then
If they win a cup, I could see him retiring.
Same here. And then Vladimir Tarasenko, who I think was a rental, but I
I
guess we'll
I
see.
I don't see why Tarasenko wasn't a rental. I like the idea of bringing back Lundell. I think he's a really good third center, and they spent a fifth overall pick on him, and he's not
Yeah,
even
he's only
that. Like
he'll
he's
be
he's
back.
he's gonna uh, keep coming, and getting better. Um, yeah. Reinhardt is the obviously the biggest question. He exploded this year for like what 58, 57 goals. Um,
Yeah.
but I could also I'd be kind of scared tying up money because I think he could go right back to being Buffalo Sam Reinhart and just never show this again. Like it could be a flash in the pan. But I think if you're Florida, he's a really good two-way player. He plays the penalty kill, he plays the power play, he plays top line with Barkov, and it seemed to work. I can see you bringing him back at the right price. I wouldn't go over 9 mil with him, even though I think he will ask for more than that. But I just would be a bit scared if he does that. There's a possibility that he can go back to Buffalo Reinhardt.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because it kind of depends how much he liked Florida. Because if you come in at 9 mil, he might just say, well, then I'm going to free agency, right?
Yeah,
Because the way the cap's going up, 9 mil doesn't put you at that elite player pay grade. So it kind of depends what he wants. It up for extension. They do have Sam Bennett and Connor Verhage who can be extended. I do think they'd like to keep both those players.
hmm
They're both making 4 mil right now, so I think they're both going to be looking for more money than that. Um, Sam Bennett's just kind of they're both playoff guys. Carter Verhage has looked pretty good this playoffs, and Sam Bennett's just a wrecking ball out there. So we'll see about that. On defense, you got OEL, who's a UFA. You got Dmitry Kulikov. I think they'll look to try and bring both those guys back. Ekman Larson looked pretty good as a
yeah.
third
Both
pairing guy.
those guys have looked good considering what they've sort of been the last couple of years, especially on that third pairing. I think in Vancouver, Ekman Larson was used as sort of a top pairing guy, and I don't think he's at that point in his career anymore. So I think that Florida has honestly used those two guys well on the third pairing, especially Kulikov. I feel like he's
Yeah.
just been going around, especially in the Stanley Cup Final, just been absolutely have no care in the world, just hitting whatever moves, and it's kind of fun to watch.
No, they're a really good, solid third pair. And I mean, considering they're both UFAs, I think that they might both want to come back to Florida and continue that, as it did look pretty good. The big one is Brandon Montour,
On
who
tour.
I'm hearing a lot of it sounds like he's not going to be back, but he's probably going to be commanding a lot of money being 30 years old. It's kind of his last chance at a big contract.
Yeah,
And apart from that, I'll just say this quickly so you can do your thoughts. Aaron Ekblad is only 28 and due for an extension, so we'll probably be looking for some big money there.
yeah, I think that Montour is going to try to obviously cash out, as you did say, it's his last chance. And I think ever since coming to Florida, he sort of gave himself this opportunity to cash out. He wasn't bad on Anaheim, but he wasn't like what he is now, where he's a top power play sort of guy. Um, he doesn't play top pairing, but that's just because Forsling and Ekblad are sent out against the McDavid line. He plays with Mikkola, but he does run the power play, and I think he does a great job. I love his mentality about how he's just a puck, a shoot first type of guy on the power play, get everything to the net.
I think it might cut out again.
Plugging it. Is it
There you
working?
go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plug my
Okay,
mic.
so it's Mike. There
Why
you
do I
go.
I have such bad luck with these mics, man. Anyways, I was saying how Montour's not the biggest body, but he sort of has a mean streak to him where he can level anybody. He loves his hip checks, which is really fun to
Oh
watch.
yeah.
You don't see those very often, but like I said, I think like you said he's 30. And I think this is sort of he set himself into a position where he's gonna make do with his last payday. And I don't think he'll be in Florida. I don't think Florida has enough money to sort of bring him back. And they'll look to sort of fill that void elsewhere.
No, I totally agree. A lot of the aspects of his game that you just mentioned, a lot of teams would love to have a shot first defenseman that can play lots of power play time, can play first pairing if you need him to, can log minutes, and is nasty to play against. What kind of contract do you think Aaron Ekblad looks at? Is it north or south of Darnell Nurse?
Well, I mean, I think he's a better defenseman than Nurse. I don't, what's he making now? I honestly don't
He's
even know what
making
he's making now. 7.5?
Mhm.
Yeah, I could see it coming in around the 9 mil range. He's 28, so I think he'll get that 8-year deal. I don't think it'll look good over time. But it honestly, actually, it might look good over time based off how the salary cap's going up.
True. And then to wrap up Florida, I think the goalie situation is pretty easy to talk about. You got Bobrovsky locked up at 2 more years at 10 mil. You got Spencer Knight locked up 2 more years at 4.5. I think it's time he steps up in that backup role or that 1B as Bobrovsky is getting older. And Stolarz is a free agent who looked really good this season and will probably look to go from a backup to a 1B situation in a
Yeah,
tandem.
Knight was obviously a first round draft pick. He was sort of meant to be that successor to Bobrovsky. He hasn't been really consistent, and he spent a lot of time this year in the player assistance program, which sucks. I don't know what that was about, but he did spend time in there. But I think that if he's ready to go next year, I think he steps in sort of as a tandem role with Bobrovsky, as Bobrovsky is getting older. I believe he's almost 36.
He is 35. He'll be
Yeah, turning.
37 when the contract's up.
Yeah. So I think he'll sort of step into that 1B role, like you said.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you got any good spots for Stolars off the top of your dome?
Maybe the Leafs if they don't bring in Boursois or someone like that. A team
Yeah.
that's sort of
Yeah.
a team that's sort of looking for a 1B. Um, yeah, I don't know. The Leafs, maybe the Oilers if Jack Campbell isn't the answer. Like I'm no, no, I'm just naming off teams that need sort of a 1B.
Yeah, I mean, he played himself into it. He played really well this year, but
Yep.
having 16.5% of your cap tied up to two goalies, they just don't really have room for the guy
Don't have
anymore.
room for that. And I don't think they want to leave Spencer Knight in the AHL any longer.
No, exactly. You got to see what you got now.
Yep. I think we'll wrap it up there with episode 99. Like I said, if you're watching this right when it comes out, we just finished recording this. So yeah. But yeah, we'll be back with episode 100. And very excited for that. But yeah, we will see you then.
See ya.